welcome to KFAM TV. Today we want to share about the environment. And with me here I have Dr. Joram Kagombe, who's a Deputy Director and Chief Research Scientist at KEFRI. I think first we will start with you sharing with us. What does environment entail?
Environment is very important. When you talk of environment, we talk of surroundings and the environment in which people are engaged on which they operate on. Because each and every person, you find that when you wake up, there is the things that you interact with each and every day. And that covers environment. It's a very wide topic, but we are talking of living and non-living environment. And so environment actually defines who we are, and it also determines the type of other factors that affect us in day-to-day lives.
What do we mean by environmental changes?
Now, the nature has its own balance, because nature has a way in which it balances what happens within the universe. And so that balance is the one which we have always had. It has sustained the universe for a long time. If it is the issue of the hydrological cycle, the way the water comes and goes out, there is a way in which nature has its own balancing. The issues of temperature, there is a way in which nature controlled in a way that the earth is not too hot or too cold. Now, when we interfere with this natural way in which nature balances, then we talk of environmental change. And the key thing, most when you're talking of environmental change, there are two things that happen. And one is we have increase in temperatures. That has been a big issue the whole world, that we have had what we have been calling global warming. And that global warming is also leading to rise in sea levels. And that is very important, because if we are talking of rising in sea level, it means maybe some towns like Mombasa, at one time they will be submerged. And you can imagine what it means when the towns are submerged. When the temperature rises, you find that some crops which we are planting in a certain agroecological region, we cannot plant them. Pests and diseases also. When the temperature increases, you find that emergence of new pests which were not there before. So the temperature change, climate change, lead also to seasons changing. Like now, for a long time in this country, we have had short rains, long rains, which were people could know when they will come. But now, we don't know what is happening. You find that it has been raining for the last, I don't know how many months, to a point that the farmers, the crops which were in the field, found the others. The farmers could not find places to plant because they had not harvested. These are the changes in season, and it's all factors of climate change.
Okay. And these issues facing the environment, what do we see people doing? Because I know people are the ones who are causing all these problems, the issues that we face with the environment that can cause the environmental changes and everything.
There has a lot of data which has been done, and one thing is that human influence is the dominant cause of the global warming, and so we need to take actions to reduce that, because there's the causes of these environmental issues which affect the environment today. We are talking of global warming. We are talking of air pollution. In fact, that there is a lot of air pollution. We are talking of rising sea level. We are talking of issues of waste disposal, issues of water pollution, issues of ozone layer depletion. And like the ozone layer depletion is very important, Jerry, because that one lead even to issues of cancer. Because when the ozone layer is depleted, you find that some of the gases which are coming are radioactive, and you find cases of cancer increasing. So in a way, we need to do a lot. We need to do a lot to think about the environment. But I'd like to emphasize one point, because we are now at a stage of corona epidemic.
Yes.
The corona epidemic is a serious thing, and the world has taken it very seriously. But with actions which the government is giving us, we can be able to control corona epidemic even within a number of months. We are even talking of months. But issues of environment, when we do an environmental disaster, an environmental epidemic, it will take a whole generation to cure what we may have caused as an issue of environment.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I hear about, I think I've seen a lot of greenhouses everywhere. Do they have a cause in the changes of the environment somehow?
You see, we talk of greenhouse effect, and greenhouse effect has always been associated with a rise in temperature. And maybe it's good to understand what is greenhouse effect. When we have radiation from the sun, when they get to the earth, 2/3 of them are absorbed. Only a third is reflected back. And so there is an ozone layer up there. And that ozone layer is like a blanket. That blanket is a blanket God has created. And that blanket, what it does, it helps us absorb those temperatures, those are the radiation, the heat. It absorbs the heat such that the world is not so cold. If there was no that blanket, the world would be so cold. So that blanket is normally there, and it helps us to maintain the temperature here. Now, what happens with the carbon when we emit the nitrogen, when we emit the methane and the carbon dioxide, that blanket becomes bigger. You know, it's like when the blanket is bigger now, so it is absorbing more heat. So it leads to temperature increase. So the greenhouse, as we talk about, it is, how they are called it, they are talking of greenhouse. It uses the same concept, that it is able to absorb the heat and the temperature remain at a high level. But the greenhouse in itself may not be lead to actual, the bigger greenhouse effect. Yeah.
Thank you. You shared about the major environmental problems. How can we save ourselves from all these problems? How do we change?
Now, when we are talking on environment, one thing is that we have to reduce waste. And how do we reduce waste? First of all, we reduce, then we reuse and recycle. And that's a very important component that we are talking even of waste segregation, such that even when there are some waste which can also be reused, and those which cannot be, some of them can also be recycled. And I would like to appreciate this effort that the government has done a lot in terms of plastics. You know, some 3 years ago, we had a serious problem with the plastic. But since the government banned this issue of use of plastic, we have had a very good improvement. Our streets are now better. In fact, even the last rains which we had, we did not have clogging of the drainage. And that's a good effort. The other thing is we need all of us to take up in cleanups of an environment to ensure that our environment is healthy. Our constitution talk of that every Kenyan is entitled to a clean and healthy environment. So what we need to do is to do those cleanup. Countries like Rwanda, they have a weekend where they devote all the energy. Even the president leads in environmental cleanup. So that is important. We also need to do education and awareness. We need to change our children from the time they are young, that they can appreciate the environment. We can educate them on the environment. We do more of this awareness. Then we need to conserve our water towers, because unless we conserve our water towers, we have a problem, because water towers are key to us. We need also to plant trees. Kenya is doing an ambitious program of 10% tree cover. And what we need is to plant 2 billion trees by year 2020.
Is that possible, Doctor?
2 billion.
Is that possible?
It can only work if we have everybody's concerted effort. Otherwise, the government alone cannot do that. And these trees will not be planted in the government forest. They will be planted in your farm. We have to go to the arid, semi-arid areas to plant. And it's ambitious a program. But if all of us can come together, we can be able to do it. The other thing we need to do is to pass more legislations and policy that can support environment. Because you see now, we have a lot of rules, but sometimes they are not enforced. So we need to pass legislation that can support environment. We also need to increase incentives. Those people who are doing the issues of environment, can we have incentives that we can give them so that they can do this thing in a bigger way? We also need to come up with climate change, climate smart agriculture. And this is the effort where conservation, the farming practices are those practices which can also help in issues of climate change. And we are also talking about green economy, whereby we use less of, we are making use of energy from the wind, energy from solar, all that type of energy, other than using the energy from our trees or from water alone. So these are efforts that we need to do, and all of them together combine also with the issues of reducing the land use change. This is also another problem, that we are changing forest to agriculture, forest to settlement. If an area is designated for forest, let it remain as forest. Yeah.
So that is, I think that basically that what you shared is on the side of the government and people at large. But what role does the church have in the environment?
Now, the church has a very big role, because if you talk of environment, you go to Genesis 2:15, where God created the Garden of Eden. And he told people to work on it and take care of it. So if you read the Bible, you read the Quran, there is a lot of reference to issues of the environment. And God has made us stewards. A steward is that person who takes care of an item which does not belong to him. This earth belongs to God. And we have to talk of that environmental stewardship. And so, when we are doing theology, let us talk about theology of environment. Theology of environment is where we are talking of what are those things that we can do as Christians to ensure that God's creation is taken care of. And this is what the preachers should also be coming with. They should be preaching about environment. And if you say that when you commit adultery, you are doing a sin, what about that person who is doing damage to the environment? He's even doing a bigger sin, because his sin will also get to a level where the other people will die because of him. So theology is very important. Then the faith-based Christians and the others should come together into groups which can support issues of environment. We can have conservation groups within the church, within the youth group. Let's have even nurseries being done by the youth. And also, when we come to issues like incentives, let's also come in and take care of this God creation. Because God will judge us when he comes that you did destroy the environment. And the church environment is such that if the environment is not taken care of, then the church will not also flourish, because it will affect the people, and then when it affects the people, it will affect the Christian. And as Professor Agari Madai said, nature is so unforgiving. If you destroy nature, it will also destroy you. So let's not wait to be destroyed. That we can do individual action, which will lead to corrective action for the environment.
That's nice. Any last words, Dr. Ari?
I think this is a good thing that we are talking about environment in the church, because the church has a lot of members. And if you as a Christian, you think that environment is not a key thing, read in the Bible, because it is so many references about environment in the Bible. And if we take care of this environment, we take care of our forests, we take care of our nature, we shall be assured that we shall live for today and tomorrow. But if we do the wrong things, we shall have no future for our children. And the environment takes so long to change. When you destroy, sometimes if you cut a tree, you may cut a tree like Pondo, that tree you find that it took about 80 years to mature and you have cut it. So even if you plant another one, you have to wait for 80 years. So I think we need to be more concerned, to be more proactive, that we take care of our mother nature, and this mother nature, we also take care of us. So we take care of each other as we go through this journey of life. Otherwise, if we don't do that, you'll find that there are a lot of diseases which are coming up related to environment. And so we will spend so much money in hospitals and also in other trying to treat the effects of the environment. But if we can avoid, then we shall have gained. And God will say to us that we are worthy servants who did what God desires to do.
Well, my viewer, you've heard it from the doctor himself, the issues in regards to the environment. And as we celebrate this coming week, we pray that you'll take every measure, and this comes even from the Bible, that you'll take every measure and take care of our environment. So until next time, this has been your host, Wambiri Njiri, and this is K-Farm TV.